Welcome to Rycka's Kitchen. Welcome to Rycka's Kitchen first cooking wellness webinar. I am so excited that all you guys made it. This is a pre-recorded video, but I wanted to build up the hype, the excitement of launching our first cooking wellness webinar. This idea has been so long in the making, and I'm glad that you guys came, and we're going to have so much fun. My name is Rycka Harper, and I'm currently studying my Master's of Social Work at Howard University. And before we begin, I just want to review our goals for this video. Very simple. We're going to go over a chart that I made to help us plan our cooking adventures. I'll also share 3 tips and strategies on how to transform your kitchen into a therapeutic playground. And I'll go more into that later in the video. Lastly, I will show you how to prepare 3 meals or meal prep on a budget in a strict time frame for my busy foodies and home chefs. So let's get started. But before we get started, a few housekeeping rules. So I was not able to upload a live chat for our video. So if you want questions, if you have any questions, if you have comments, please feel free to tweet me at Rycka Harper. That's CHRYCKAHARPER at Rycka Harper. Also, make sure to use our hashtags. Hashtag Rycka's Kitchen, hashtag Cooking for Self-Love, and hashtag Cooking Wellness. Make sure you let all your friends know, or your family, people that you know who need this. Make sure that you keep spreading the word. The video will be available after this hour, and anyone can come to the website and view our video. And if you happen to be viewing this video after our event, it's no problem. You can still tweet me, you can still email me with any questions, with any feedback. Make sure, if you have not already, to go to our register page to sign up, so that way you can get emails from us. And trust me, I am not going to spam your inbox. No one has the time for that. I'll just send you information here and there, letting you know about our content, what's to come in the future, as well as a post survey after this video. Your feedback is very important, and I really need it to continue growing this brand and this community. So I appreciate you, I love you, and now let's officially get to cooking. So Rycka's Kitchen is based on my experience with cooking. Growing up, I enjoyed food, both eating it and cooking it. But I particularly loved to watch my mom from afar because she did not like anyone in her kitchen when she was cooking, but I enjoyed watching her as she cooked. She had an amazing way of just taking things that no one would think of and creating meals that would just leave my stomach happy, leave my smiles happy, and leave anyone who tastes her food happy. But she also had this way of commanding the kitchen. Whenever she went in, she would just get in her zone and she would fly through it. And even though she was sweating and she was so concentrated on making the meal, it just seemed like she was at peace. And it always felt like home to me. So when I went to college and started living the young adult life, things kind of got hard. And I realized that I had to find ways to cope with the stress, to cope with growing up and all of that. And I had to recreate that sense of home. And home to me is cooking. So I started cooking in college. When I stopped having meal plans, and I would do meal prep. I would just make meals out of the blue. I would make meals like fried chicken and mashed potatoes just to feel like home. And I realized that it was very soothing. It was very comforting to me. And when things like depression and anxiety got in, the cooking just helped to ameliorate those side effects. And so that's why I started Rycka's Kitchen, because I believe that someone else on this planet can benefit from cooking as I did. And while the literature is not out there on the actual benefits of cooking, I think that we're all learning that cooking can be both comforting for the body, the mind, and the soul. 3 tips to turn your kitchen into a therapeutic playground. So what do I mean about playground? Well, when I think of playgrounds, I think of jungle gyms, I think of the swing sets, the merry-go-round, and at the playground, that's where you feel like a kid. You feel fun, you feel creativity, you feel innovation, like the whole world is yours. And the most basic playgrounds is where we can have the most fun. So I want you to think of your kitchen as your playground. Where's your swing set? Where's your merry-go-round? Are you alone or with you other people? When you go to your favorite part on the playground, what do? Take those things, take those concepts, and transform your kitchen into a place where you feel like a kid again, where you feel at the most peace, the most fun, and the most creativity. So, tip number one, take shortcuts, keep them to a minimum, but still have fun. So we like to take shortcuts in the kitchen because, come on, let's face it, cooking can be a very long and tedious process. However, I found that doing the things the long way can be just as beneficial as taking a shortcut. So for example, let's say if you're chopping up vegetables like onions. So you have the option of buying onions that are pre-cut in the store, or you can take the time to chop the onions yourself. Not only do you save money, for pre-cut anything adds to the price and you don't get as much, but by chopping up your own onions, you can feel your blade slicing through the vegetable, and you can just have the smell going up your nose and try not to cry. All of that is part of the fun of cooking. And so I hope that you would take that tip and do things like chopping up your onions or even making your own spice blend. And later in the video, I'll show you how I made my own spice blend. It's very simple, it's very easy, and it helps to speed things along in the cooking process. Tip number two, play background music. So whenever it's taco night, I like to play reggaeton or Cubano music, or if I'm making the classic home staples, then soul food is my way to go. Either way, play background music that sets the mood, that sets the tone. Because let's face it, sometimes it's not fun cooking in silence. You want to create that atmosphere so you feel like you're transported into the very place where you're about to have your next meal. And finally, our last tip is practice mindfulness all the way to the last bite. So the Huffington Post published an article in July 2017 talking about the psychological benefits of cooking. So they listed that cooking can help increase altruism. It can help with love and all that. Yeah, read the article. But yeah, the article did talk about the benefits of cooking as well as mindfulness. And when it comes to mindfulness, mindfulness can help us come to at the present moment. It can help us be in a better space and have greater concentration, greater focus, and it can help with our creativity. So the next time that you cook, try not to think about a whole list of things that you got to do, but just be in the present moment. Feel yourself. Take notes of yourself as you're washing the produce or you're cutting them or you hear that sizzle once it hits the hot pan. Just anything to enjoy the moment. And so these are my three tips to transform. Tip number one is take shortcuts, but keep them to a minimum and fun. Tip number two is to play background music. And tip number three is to practice mindfulness all the way to the end. Thank you guys. I hope they are helpful. Please tweet me if those tips are helpful, if I can explain them any further, if I need to clarify or go into depth. But I hope these tips are a good foundation to transforming your kitchen into a therapeutic playground. Now, all right, guys, so you see that I have my artisan lettuce here. Very beautiful, very vibrant. And I'm just going to set the lettuce in the sink to prepare later. And in my colander is my beautiful head of cabbage. I just absolutely love cabbage. It's affordable, it's nutritious, and it's very delicious. And so I just set there in the sink as it waits to be rinsed. Now I'm going to do that shortcut that I told you about. So I'm starting with salt. I'm going to put the salt. This is my mortar and pestle. You don't have to have a mortar and pestle like me, but I always wanted one because there's so much fun in the lab, and so why not have it in my own kitchen? So I'm starting off with salt for my spice blend, and it did look like I added a lot of salt, but I'm making a big batch. So that was black pepper. This is Mrs. Dash salt-free herbal blend. Very nice if you want to, spice it up without using salt and haha, a little dance here. Next, I am using onion powder to my spice blend, and I'm just going to add it as so. Yes, making a big patch here. And now I'm adding cayenne pepper. And if you're like me, yes, I love the spice. It may seem like I'm adding a lot, and it probably is to some. You definitely don't have to add as much as I did, but I needed the spice. Paprika to add that smoky flavor and also to help with the color of the spice blend. Vegan broth base. I absolutely love this stuff. It is magical. And nutritional yeast, another magical spice blend that adds a great taste of flavor and its nutrition. Garlic powder, and let's add that here. And I believe this is the next to last ingredient that I add. And so I'm just going to start mushing up the spices together, just making them blend and harmonize with each other. And this is very fun to me, just being able to smush the spices together, get them to marinate, to love on each other. And this is a great shortcut. It's not really taking a shortcut, but it is. Because while you're taking the time to mix your spices, it saves you a lot of time while you're cooking. And this is the ingredient that I almost forgot to add is raw cane sugar. And raw cane sugar adds a nice sweetness to it. It helps to balance the salty flavor of it, and it helps to balance the overall taste of the spice blend. And so I just added it in there, and I'm now really getting into mixing up the spices, making sure that they're all mixed well, and so that way while I'm cooking, I can just dip my hand into the pestle or as a motor or something, either or. But yeah, that way I can dip my hand into the bowl and sprinkle and move on. And at this point, I am tasting the spice blend. See that I have to add just a little more sugar. I do remember it was still a bit salty because, as you can see, I added a lot of salt at the time, and I just want to make sure that it's perfect, a perfect balance of colors. So now I'm rinsing off my cabbage to prepare it. I will be cooking the cabbage in a wok, and you will see that later. And I am getting my bowl that I'm going to put my cabbage in. If you have already figured it out, that bowl is definitely not big enough, so you will eventually see a bigger bowl containing all of my cabbage. So I'm just going to slice down the middle here for my cabbage, and then I'm going to cut off the stem, and then I'm going to do a rough chop. I don't really get into the chopping part because cabbage can be quite messy, quite tedious to chop, and it does require a lot of trying to maneuver and navigate all the pieces. But if you have the time, I do recommend cutting the cabbage into smaller pieces because it cooks better, and to me it just feels better on the palate. But if you like big chunks, then go ahead and do big chunks. But yeah, I'm just here chopping up my beautiful cabbage here. I'm going to add it to my bowl as so. The great thing about chopping up vegetables like cabbage or kale or lettuce or even onions or carrots is that you really can take your time and enjoy the process of it. Now I have my baby carrots, yes, and I'm smiling because baby carrots happens to be one of my absolutely favorite vegetables. And how am I preparing the carrots is by slicing down the middle, and then I'm just doing a quick chop across them. Baby carrots do take time to prepare, so if you don't have the time, I recommend just getting regular sized carrots. They are actually better for your buck, and they stretch for a long time. So carrots in general, I always recommend. They add great flavor to any base of a dish, and they're nutritious, they're affordable, and they a great color. Yes, and I'm chopping the carrots as so, and the carrots are going to go into my pasta salad to add a little crunch, some color, and yeah, to make it even more delicious. Yeah, and I ended up using a half a bag of the baby carrots. You can use it depending on what you want, but yeah, pasta salad is very great in that you can use practically any fruit, any vegetable, and as long as you can get the flavors to marry each other, then it's going to come out great anyway. And here we go. So I'm preheating my oven to 350 degrees for my homemade granola. And here is my stove. I'll be cooking on those three main eyes. So I'll have my pasta cooking, my vegetable stock preparing, and my rice. So now I'm going to make the dressing for my pasta salad. So the base is extra virgin olive oil. If you don't want to use extra virgin olive oil, then you can use avocado oil, peanut oil, grapeseed oil. Haven't really tried grapeseed oil yet. I don't know how that would go. Next, I'm adding my crushed garlic and ginger. I got this when I was in South Africa, so I'm not sure if this brand is available in the States, but I'm sure you can find garlic and ginger paste somewhere in the stores. But I find it quick and easy and convenient because I love garlic and ginger. Now I'm adding red wine vinegar to my salad dressing to have that oil and vinegar mix in it. And I'm going to next add agave nectar. That is for the sweetness, as also to help combat the bitterness from the oil, from the ginger, the garlic, and even the red wine vinegar. So I'm going to add a nice amount there. And now it's whisking time. Yes. And this is so much fun. Homemade dressings, they can taste way better than store-bought dressings sometimes. Well, actually all the time if you make them right. And they're also cheaper to make. They don't have all the added chemicals and additives and whatnot. I'm also adding more agave nectar just to help with the sweetness and the balance of flavors. And I'm adding salt and pepper to bring everything together. And I'm giving it one last whisk. Give it a final taste. Yeah, I think it's good here, so I'm just going to whisk it a little bit more. And then when I'm done, I'm going to cover it and put it in the refrigerator. Ah, no, duh, onions. Yes, I had added onions to help the onions not absorb, but more so meld into the flavor of the dressing. And yeah, that's going to really enhance it. In time. Wow, guys, I really forgot what I added to this dressing. The fun of recording. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure the onions and the thyme were the last things that I added. So now the dressing is ready. So now I'm going to start on the tomato stew. I have my pot warming up, and these are my pre-cut onions that I chopped myself. I am putting EVOO, shout out to Rachel Ray, in my pot to warm my oil. Swirl it around as so. And prepping ingredients like onions is so helpful because it helps the cooking process. So this is another shortcut that's really a shortcut, but not really. It's up to you on what you want to do. But prepping ingredients like onions beforehand is so helpful. It helps to expedite the process, and it's just fun adding ingredients that are already ready together. But yeah, that's up to you. You make your cooking adventure work for you. So now I'm going to add some salt, and the salt is just to help bring out the flavor of the onions, to draw it out, and also draw the moisture out. So I'm just going to add a little salt here, and on the back eye, that's my vegetable stock that will be added to the stew later, and on the right is my rice, which I'm only parboiling because the rice is going to be added to the stew as well. Now I'm just adding a little bit more oil to help with the cooking of the onions. I'm going to have them cook for about 3 to 5 minutes. You want the onions to get really tender, and you want them to become very fragrant. So yeah, just continue to toss them around. Just let them fry for a little bit in the pot. So I have my can of crushed tomatoes and tomato paste. That's going to go into my tomato stew. And I also brought out a secret ingredient. So first I'm starting with the crushed tomatoes. I'm pouring that in. And usually I would take the can and fill it with water and then add more to the sauce to help stretch it out. But because I'm adding the vegetable stock, then I'm going to skip that step this time. And so I'm just going to stir around, and I'm going to allow the onions and the crushed tomatoes warm up first before I start adding the other stuff. And yeah, this part is really fun because it's kind of like building a castle. Like if you were like me and played building blocks or Legos when you were young, then you remember like taking the simple blocks and just building upon it. And when you're done, you saw this like amazing castle or fortress. And so with the baking soda, there's a little trick when you cook anything with acid in it. You add a pinch of baking soda to it, and it helps to take away the acid from it. So it helps with the taste of it, especially when working with canned tomatoes, and it helps to balance the pH level of the dish as well. So baking soda is a nice trick whenever you want to play around with the flavors of the food. And that looks very good right now. So now I am adding our vegetable stock, and I'm not adding the entire pot. I'm just going to add about half because I don't want it too soupy, especially since I'm adding the rice in a bit. But I wanted to get it to where it is not too thick but not too thin either. And here is my peach chutney. You don't have to use peach chutney. You can use any type of chutney. You can use a jelly, a jam. But I recommend something to help sweeten up the flavor when you're cooking a tomato stew dish. Plus, it adds a nice depth to it without having to add like actual sugar. And I'm adding a spoonful of my ginger and garlic paste because, as you have figured out already, I love ginger and garlic. And I did add a lot, but it's fine because it's my dish. And so I'm just going to give this another whirl, another swirl, and you guys will be able to see how all of this comes together in a bit. Alright guys, you can see the stuff in action. I've had it simmering for a while. I've already added the tomato paste, so we're just going to give it a stir here. And I wish cameras had noses so that you'll be able to smell what my kitchen smells like right now, but it's going well right now. And now just giving it a taste to see if I need to add anything. Of course, I add a little bit more of my homemade spice just to help bring the flavors all together, especially when you're working with canned anything. That canned flavor can overpower your entire dish, so please be mindful just how you combine your ingredients so that way the canned flavor doesn't overpower it. And voila! I've added the parboiled rice to my dish, and I'm not going to have it cook on high. I'm going to have it simmer for a bit. Since the rice is almost done, I don't have to cook it for as long. It's just a couple of minutes on the eye. Once I take it off this eye, I'm going to turn the heat off and allow the rice to soak up the tomato sauce. But this looks awesome. Now it's time for the pasta salad. So here is my cooled cooked pasta. I love spiral pasta, and I love pasta made out of like different stuff like spinach and tomatoes. I saw in the store this one pasta. It was black. I forgot what it was made out of, but I'm interested in trying that really soon. So I've just added my carrots, and I'm now just mixing the pasta and the carrots together, just helping to bring the pasta salad together, of course. And I'm placing my bowl in the sink because I have to retrieve cheese. So my mom actually puts cheese in her pasta salad. I'm not sure about everyone else. But I'm about to take the cheese and dice it into cubes, and it happens to be pepper jack cheese. So again, another flavor to be added, another flavor to the complex dimension of pasta salad. But I love adding cheese because cheese brings about a funky, tangy flavor. It also helps with the texture of the pasta salad. So you have the chewiness of the pasta, you have the crunchiness of the carrots, and now you have this smooth, buttery blocks of cheese to go in there. And so I'm just going to chop these, the block of pepper jack cheese into small cubes to add into my pasta salad. And of course, you don't have to use this type of cheese. I would recommend using like sharp cheddar or mild cheddar, Gouda, Parmesan. Oh, But the best type of cheese to add to pasta salad is Asiago cheese. Do not knock it until you try it. Asiago cheese and pasta salad is like one of the best combos you can think of. And if you add even bits of sauteed sausage, like apple chicken sausage, you, my friend, have no idea what you're missing out on. So please be creative with your pasta salads. Make sure that you send me pictures and whatnot of how you make your pasta salad. I'm excited to learn from different people. Usually I put like tomatoes or cucumbers or even onions in my pasta salad, but I decided to keep it simple to try to stick to my budget and show you guys how you can still make great meals with limited ingredients. And so I got my salad dressing from the refrigerator. And of course, you guys should make this dressing way in advance if you want the flavors to marinate a little bit longer. But I'm now just going to add the dressing to my pasta salad. And I stopped close to the end because I want to mix the pasta and the carrots and the cheese around to make sure that I'm not over adding because the pasta is really not going to absorb a lot of the dressing. So if you're not careful, your pasta salad could become very, very greasy. And you don't really want that unless you do. I mean, I'm not judging you if you do, but I personally don't recommend it. Just watch out when you're adding your dressing to it to make sure that's not overly greasy. But also taste it just to make sure it's at the right consistency that you want. So based off of what I saw, I figure I should just add the rest of my dressing and give it a couple of more swirls and twirls here. But I am excited because this is a nice batch of pasta salad that's going to last me throughout the week. And the great thing is I can just store it in a container and walk around with it. Pasta salad does not have to be warm, so you don't have to worry about microwave if you have access to one or not. And here is the taste test. I gotta make sure I get all the key ingredients on my fork. It's missing something. What is it missing? Rycka spice. Always comes in clutch at the end. Have to add just a pinch or two just to help bring the flavors again together and to give it that pop. As you can see, I'm having a little bit too much fun with adding the spices. But yeah, we're just going to give this another toss and swirl around, and pretty sure that the pasta salad is together at this point. But yeah, pasta salad is a great economic, whatever friendly dish that you can think of. It stretches, it can be quite delicious, you can mix it up, you can make multiple pasta salads in a week actually. And here you go. Alright, now guys, we're going to start on our granola. So this is actually my first time making granola from scratch. So the product that you will see is going to be the first time that I've made granola. So I'm starting off by laying out my nuts on the cutting board. And I was fortunate to find a package of pistachios, almonds, and I forgot what the other nut is in there. We'll figure out later. Now I'm adding the oats to my bowl. The oats is the base of the granola. And from what I read on recipes is that making granola is very simple. As long as you have your oats and you choose something like nuts or seeds to help balance out the granola or whatnot, then you can add that. You add your spices, and then you have to have something that binds it all together, like honey, or in this case I'm using agave nectar, and some type of fat. So I've seen olive oil being used, I've seen canola oil. In this case I'm going to use coconut oil. You're about to see that soon. So now I'm mixing it all up with my hands, and I encourage you guys to do the same because that makes cooking fun, to get your hands dirty and just to feel the ingredients slide through your hands. All right, so before we finish our granola, I'm going to start on the cabbage. So I have my wok, it is warm, and voila, cabbage is added to the pot. It's cooking, and I got my seasoning to go all over it. Have my wok nice and hot. And what I love about woks is that they really reduce the cooking time of anything. It's just the way the wok is made. You don't have to spend that much time cooking whatever it is you're cooking. The high heat surrounds the food and it just kind of cooks it at multiple angles and it helps the food get done quicker. So I have my oil in here, my cabbage. I just added my seasonings and just giving it a toss. And now I've already added my vegetable stock to help cook the cabbage even more. And time has already elapsed. So at this point, I am done with the cabbage. I like it at the consistency as it is. Some people like theirs more tender. Some like theirs crunchier. But I am satisfied. And now you are looking at a small pot of agave nectar that is warming up now. This is for our granola. So I'm going to put in some ground cloves. And I love using earth spices like cloves because it just adds a nice dimension of flavor. I would caution that be careful when adding cloves because cloves can overpower your dish quickly. And I'm adding nutmeg to help really bring out the fall flavors and cinnamon. Now cinnamon I'm a little bit more lenient on just because I like the taste of cinnamon, and cinnamon doesn't really drown out the overall flavor compared to cloves and nutmeg. And so now the agave is boiling, and I just added coconut oil. That is the fat content I'm adding to our sugar, and I'm just swirling it around to help mix it up. And now I'm adding the agave and coconut oil mixture to my granola mix. And unfortunately, I did not use my hands this time. If I wasn't recording, I would have. I'm using a spoon, but yeah, you want to mix your granola up really, really well at this point. Make sure that the agave, the honey, or whatever you're using is coating every single piece as possible. I feel like I could have made more agave at this point, just because it came out drier than expected. But I liked how it turned out at the end, and you guys get to see. So I'm laying it out on my cookie sheet, and it's best that you flatten it out as much as possible so that way it can toast evenly. And when you do put it in the oven, you're going to cook it for like 20 to 30 minutes. At the halfway mark, you want to stir it around so that way it doesn't completely burn. And there you have it, you guys. You have all three dishes. So here is the pasta salad, and the pasta salad is going to go on a bed of lettuce, and that's dinner. Here's our homemade granola mixture. Yes, nice and toasted. And it's going to go well with the grapes. And here is lunch. So we have our tomato stew with rice that came out lovely, and our steamed cabbage. Not quite sure how to call it. Alright guys, that's it on a cooking demonstration. So in 1 to 1.5 hours, I was able to make 3 meals for the week. I made for breakfast homemade granola that's going to pair well with grapes and yogurt or even almond milk. That's what I have on me. For lunch, I'm going to enjoy a tomato stew with rice over cabbage, and it sounds so good right now. I'm actually kind of hungry. And for dinner, I made a pasta salad with homemade dressing that has olive oil, ginger, garlic, onions, some spices, and the pasta salad is going to go over a bed of lettuce, and that's going to be awesome. So before we go, I'd just like to say thank you guys again for joining us in our first ever Cooking Wellness webinar. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got a taste of what it means to cook for your own health. Just cooking in general to me is very fun, it's very relaxing, it's very comforting, it's very soothing, and it always feels like home no matter what. And while I don't always cook like I should, when I do, it's never a disappointment. So I hope that you guys can have the same experience. Please, please, please share pictures, share videos of how you took this webinar and made your own cooking adventure. I would love to share it and continue the conversation. So make sure you tweet me at CHRYCKAHARPER at Sharika Harper. Thank you for following Rycka's Kitchen and stay tuned for more.